Hey Katie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for
Um,
meeting with me.
do you want to tell us a little bit about where you're from and what you do first?
Sure. So I live just north of Chicago in the US, and I'm a speech language pathologist. I started my private practice about 5 years ago, actually 5 years ago this month, and I have been just working towards growing it to the point where I'm no longer the primary therapist, growing it to the point where I can actually spend time with my kids, which was why I initially started a private practice. And yeah, that's what I do.
So, what was it at the point in time that you came across me in the mastermind that led you to join the program?
Well, I joined after going through the accelerator challenge that you ran on Facebook. And um, I enjoyed every video that you put out so much. And I think part of it was I just really enjoyed listening, not only to what you had to say, but also to your voice. I just really soothing. And I felt like, okay, this lady knows what she's talking about, and she's talking about it in a different way than everybody else. I think one of the first things you talked about was masculine and feminine energy.
Mhm.
And it resonated with me so much because of how I had just really grown to fear marketing and being pushy and having to I don't know, I felt like I had to sell myself. And I'd heard some things similar to what you were saying, but I'd never heard it explained the way you explained it, and it just really resonated with me. And um, I also knew that I had some big challenges coming up with, I had just filled my very first full-time therapist, and I was in the process of hiring a second person. And I just felt like, as kind of a young practice owner, I felt like I was in over my head a little bit. And I think the number one lesson I've learned in private practice, starting with, no business knowledge, only the knowledge of how to be a therapist, is just to listen to the experts in whatever it is that you're struggling in and need to learn more about, and to pay for expertise. And so after I went through the accelerator challenge, I just felt like I wanted more of that. And I felt like I was really ready to put in the work, and you kind of packaged it in a way that was approachable and not too overwhelming, and didn't make me feel like I needed to be someone I wasn't.
Yeah. So, did you have any fears or reservations about the program before you started?
Mm, good question. I think I had never spent that much money on a coaching program. I think I'd spent maybe like a third of the cost on a coaching program before. So I think my main concern was just uh, wanting to make sure that this was the kind of investment that I would make back.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about that in our initial phone call.
And have you made that investment back? Good. Um, so you mentioned a bit that you had filled a therapist already, and you had a new one coming on.
Mhm. Mhm.
What was it that felt challenging about that when you just done it? Was it that it had been really challenging to fill that first one?
It had been, and she'd had well, she started in July 2020, so it was mid-COVID, and we were filling her mostly with teletherapy cases because that's what we had been doing primarily. And then I knew that filling this next, and she also took a maternity leave sort of halfway between getting full, so it was a more protracted
Mhm.
process. Um, And I knew that the type of marketing I'd done to get the teletherapy clients was not really the same kind of marketing that was going to work to get me the in-person local clients that I really needed. So I think that's why it felt different. And then in addition, the first person I hired knew that she was going to work part-time and build into a full-time schedule, versus this last person is a little more eager to build to a full-time schedule.
You knew you need to do it a bit quicker.
Yeah.
And going back to what you were saying earlier about kind of having this fear around marketing, was that playing into it a bit, that you were like, oh God, I've got to go back and do this all again, and it was horrible last time?
Well, I think, yes. I think one of my biggest fears with marketing is not knowing where to start or what to say or who to talk to. And I think you have a system for that. And so it takes some of the self-doubt out of it, I think, when you're just following something that somebody else has set up and swears by, and a lot of other people swear by.
Yeah.
So that was helpful for me.
One of those things, obviously, that we do in the program is knowing who to talk to and how to bring in those referrals. And just before we jumped on, you shared a really exciting thing that had unfolded through some of that process that I share. Do you want to share what that was?
Sure. So in one of my coaching calls with you, we'd identified that I have a list of people who I'm touching base with, and we decided I was going to try to do 2 a week.
Yeah.
So one week I'm sitting down and I feel like I've gotten all the easy ones done, and I have I need to think through, okay, I need somebody else. So I'm looking down towards maybe 50 people down my list. And there was a researcher that I connected with at a local university. When I'd taken my son in to do one of their speech and language studies, we'd connected. I think the last time we talked had probably been 6 months earlier, but I had his email. So I messaged him and just asked if he would be interested in meeting to talk about bridging the gap between clinical research and clinical practice, or research and clinical practice. And he said he was about to graduate, but he connected me to his boss, who is the head of this amazing early intervention research program at the university. And when I spoke to this researcher on the phone, she was so incredibly personable, so enthusiastic, mom of 4 with her babies in the back seat, and we just hit it off and started. I know, people, right? And so we just hit it off. We talked about how much we both valued relationships and, also just doing a really good job at what we do, and started talking about how our teams could work together. And so last Thursday, we had a Zoom meeting with her team, her research team, and then my little team. Just introduced ourselves, talked about our clinical interests, and picked a research article. So we're going to do a journal club and little happy hours and meet up quarterly, just to build relationships. And they're going to train us on these really neat evidence-based interventions that they've been doing with parents of young kids. And so when they have, parents come through the study whose kids could need could use a little extra support, they can refer to us as the local team, 15 minutes away from the university, who's using these research-based methods. So it's a win for everybody.
Yeah. And this is the magic.
And I'm so excited.
And it's such the magic of what is within our network that we don't tap into. And why I'm always so focused on speak to people first, rather than going out and trying to warm up a cold audience with a Facebook post. Like this, they could send you 20 referrals a year. Even if it's one a month, 12, that's half a caseload for someone from one conversation, and you're getting massive benefits from it too as a team. Wonderful. Absolutely. And so you obviously mentioned that you brought on this full-time person and they've been with you for 6 weeks. Where is their caseload at right now?
So she is half full right now.
Cool. That's good. And on track for filling her within, do you think, another 6 weeks?
Yeah, so she'll be full within another 6 weeks, for sure. And the last time we did it, it took 6 months to fill the person to full time. And
actually, you'll probably find that, I find with people that it takes 6 weeks to get momentum, but she'll probably be filling another 4, 2 to 4, because you'll just start to see referrals come in with more pace. So we've halved that time to fill someone, which is obviously half the cost of having her, of what you were anticipating with her not being full. And have you found that the rest of your team, up until this point of bringing her on, have been more full? You've had like more capacity?
Yeah. I have noticed definitely that things at the very beginning of the summer were trucking along really steadily. So I was getting 3 referrals a week as opposed to 1. It's been a slow couple of weeks. I think we hit that midsummer lull, but the nice thing is I know what my plan is.
Yep.
And so I'm not really like, oh no, what do I do? I'm like, well, I'm sending my newsletters, I'm touching base with my people. I have my plan to go visit doctors' offices in a couple weeks. So it's not, I don't feel the panicky feelings that I used to feel all the time when somebody's caseload was a little low. Because I looked today and I was like, oh, we got a lot of cancellations this week. It's been looking awesome, but it doesn't look quite the way I was hoping. Just, this week specifically, everyone seems to be going on vacation. But I don't feel that like hit in my stomach that I used to always feel when I saw the schedule looking like that, because I know what my next steps are, and I've seen the growth really consistently.
Yeah.
And I've just started, like I sent out 2 newsletters and I have a third to go out, and I'm just doing my touch point mailers. My first one goes out in a couple weeks.
So how do you feel now about taking someone else on in the future? Are you pretty confident that, you were just saying that you've got a plan now to keep, and you're not worried about how you are now? Do you feel more confident about the next step and the next step and the next step too?
Yeah, I feel like this is the part where I scale. I feel like I've gotten my systems in place, and there's not, aside from getting an office space, which we're working on, I don't see very much standing in between me and being able to scale. I feel like it's just coming, like it'll just happen. So that's really exciting. It's really exciting to feel like I know what to do. And I already have a job ad out for my next person, because if I'm full in 3 months, if this person is full, even in the next 6 weeks, then I have to start looking now. So I already have the job out for the next person. Yeah.
Love that. So what would you say to somebody considering joining the program?
I would say to really consider what your practice needs the most and what's standing in between you and what you're wanting. And I feel like if the answer to that is learning how to get the word out about what you do in a way that feels authentic, then this is a really good investment. I also think it's just enjoyable. It wasn't something that, it was something that I looked forward to. Like, oh, we get to hop on the call. I'm excited to see how the other ladies are doing. Excuse me. And I genuinely enjoyed, watching working through the videos, doing the worksheets. It felt like almost like my business became my hobby again. Like it's exciting to dream about what could be and what you could do, and how to get the word out about what you do in a way that feels not yucky.
And how did you find it fitted in around your family? Because that's the other question I get all the time. And obviously, and you've got 2 boys and your practice. And how did you find it fitted in, both doing the work but also then implementing stuff? Did you find it difficult to fit in, or was it pretty easy?
Great question. I've somewhere in the middle, to be totally honest. I found that I definitely had to schedule a time block. Cute. I definitely had to schedule a time block. And once I started doing that, like had my weekly hour and a half block, that I would work on it, that became really doable. And it's still on my schedule, right? It's not going anywhere. It's
Amazing.
going to be this. It's just called mastermind in my schedule, and the hour-and-a-half block can move around if I have other commitments, but I just leave that block
Yeah.
on there so that I can always be just like pushing things forward a little bit.
So it really did fit into that like 90 minutes that I like. It's just was you getting that 90 minutes in your schedule that was important.
Yes, I'll be totally honest and say some weeks I would blow it off and then find myself spending 3 hours the next week. But that's the beauty of it, is that I can do that, right?
Yeah, totally. It fits in when you do. So was there anything else you want to share about the mastermind or the program itself?
Let's see. No, I think overall it just is something that really encouraged me to dream bigger, and I like that you provide that, and then you also provide tools like who to talk to about your your money stuff.
Yeah.
If you want really good specifics on what can you really do. So yeah, it was not only marketing help that I got from you, right? It's more of a paradigm shift of like how to transition into the leadership role within my organization that I already have, but how to inhabit it a little bit more fully. So there, I feel like with you, it's not only marketing strategy, you've got like a little executive coaching stuff going on there, which is really helpful for business owners.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been such a joy to hear how far you've come, and it was so lovely, obviously, to have you in the program. And I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.